If you grew up in the 90s and early 2000s, then you might remember this brand because at the time it was pretty popular among kids and extreme athletes. The brand might not exist or be as relevant today because supposedly the No Fear brand was bought out by someone in the early 2010s, but there still was a game or two out there advertising No Fear. One of those games is No Fear Downhill Mountain Biking, developed by Unique Development Studios and published by Codemasters for the PlayStation in 1999. If you like extreme sports and mountain biking, then this game might be for you because there are not many of these around. If you don't like that, then oh well, go watch a different video. So you pick one of these modes, and I quite like how the menu options have this effect. You pick one of these 6 riders and start biking around. So it's very simple stuff, and for short bursts, then this game is ideal. Or if you want to beat something in just a few hours, because, well, let's be honest, it's not a long game at all. I did not need to learn how the controls worked or get used to this game because I've been playing it on and off in the last, 25 years or so. But I will be honest, I never bothered to ever beat it. At least up until now. So for the most part I am very familiar with the game and I quite like it. Therefore I know I have a bit of a bias towards it, but I will do my best to throw that aside. The first thing I did was enter the championship mode. You have 3 difficulties here, amateur, pro and elite, and to play on any difficulty you have to beat the previous lower difficulty. This also happened in Toka 2 Touring Cars, a game I already talked about, that did the same thing and I quite liked it over there. And for some reason it has the most views on my channel. So let's start on amateur and go all the way up. The championship works in a single elimination format or something on each track. Out of 8 riders you have to come on top to move on. If you get first place, then you will be able to save, and every second track you will unlock a new part for your bike and increase its performance. But still, no matter the parts you have, if you cannot ride, then you've lost. You will race on every terrain in many countries around the world. Mud, tarmac, gravel and even ice. Depending on the track you will need specific tires. Well, technically you can ride with any type of tire, but it's better if you, for example, ride with dirt tires when riding on mud. Some tracks have to be unlocked by beating one difficulty in the championship, and if you beat all 3 difficulties, then you will unlock the No Fear track, which is a very speedy track and will test your courage the most. And yes, well, I admit, it's quite fun. Beat amateur and you will play in pro, which essentially has the same tracks, but all of those are just longer versions. You know, similar to what Road Rash did if you ever played it. I will cover this game in the future. Beat Pro and you will unlock Elite. Here, every track won't be longer versions, but half the track will be a different route. Of course, not counting the brand new tracks you will unlock and race, like in Japan or Sweden. Beat Elite and you will unlock this No Fear track. Is it difficult to beat the game? Actually, not at all. The AI will be slightly more challenging the higher the difficulty is, but not too much, unless you have a really hard time with the controls, but I will get to that. The actual difficulty will not come from the AI, but rather the tracks themselves, because I will show you the very first track you ride on in the championship in all 3 difficulties, and you tell me if you notice any difference. As you can see, in Elite, the track gets more technical, and this is just the beginning of the championship in that difficulty. So you necessarily need to be in full control over your bike, because if not, you will fall down and lose time, hit something and lose time, or your opponent will laugh his ass off. And you better not mess around here, because Jesus is also riding in it. So be aware. It's Jesus! Graphics are not spectacular, but they are fine for what they are. Bikes look quite good, the draw distance could have been a bit better, the characters could have also looked a bit better, especially the sprites, but the tracks themselves are actually quite fun and can be challenging. There is really nothing to say about the music, mainly because while playing, well, I will be honest, I never paid much attention to it. You know, because I was more focused on staying on the bike. But listening to everything while off the console, then the music tracks are fine, I guess. Nothing special. The sound effects are quite good though, outside of this one. Listen to it again. There is a 2-second loop when it comes to the crowd, because it seems that there are two crowd sound files playing at the same time, and while the first one is fine, the second one loops every 2 seconds. So, the controls. How are they? Honestly, surprisingly good. Even back then I was quite surprised by how good the bikes handle, and even now I enjoyed it quite a lot to race around. Maybe this is why I keep returning to this game. It's because of the controls. They are responsive and they feel right. However, not everything is perfect though. For one, you can jump. However, you will barely notice it because the jump can barely be considered a jump. The jump is mainly only useful when you have to ride over these small water rivers or whatever, because otherwise you will be slowed down big time. There is also a trick mode, but seriously, the developers should have gotten rid of this mode altogether, because you will try it once and never again. The reason is because on how it works. Because you have to keep your bike straight, press circle or L2, because once you press it, you cannot steer your bike anymore. Press any trick combination, and before the jump actually happens, you have to release circle or L2. Yeah, this is how doing tricks works here, and no, it's not good at all. I played this mode once and it's really not worth it, because it's so unnecessarily complicated to do tricks, and you just have one track. What might happen to you too is this. If you are not careful, you might lose control over your bike and almost spin. So just keep your cool, even when you ride in first person, which enhances the immersiveness. Is that a word? Who cares? It is now. This really enhanced the adrenaline aspect by quite a bit and was extra fun. What about unlocks? Well, there are 2 new bikers that can be unlocked, one of which was a German Xtreme mountain bike rider named Nils Peter Janssen. The second one is Rob Warner, also an Xtreme mountain bike rider from Britain, and he has the best stats in the game, bar none. One very weird thing is that from all the tracks you can unlock, most will have a pro and elite version, but some will not have an amateur or even pro version. Why not? Okay, this game could have had a few more bike parts and actually use them more efficiently, because, for example, the ice tires are only used for this track in Sweden, which is quite of a shame. And also it could have used more unlockables, especially when there are a lot of riders that you ride against but cannot play as them. So no, nobody will be able to ride as Jesus. Sure, in a way, No Fear downhill mountain biking could have been better. But overall though, I personally still think this is quite a, at least, decent game despite its short length. It's quite fun to ride around these tracks and can be adrenaline pumping, especially in first person.